Being so patient. Lots of things to talk about. Any case, Atwater City Council for January 26th of 2017. If you'll please all rise for the pledge to our flag, followed by Chaplain McClellan with our invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father, as we approach your throne tonight, we're so thankful that we can. And Father, we've gathered here tonight to discuss the affairs of our city. I pray, Lord, you give our council members and our mayor wisdom. And Father, we just pray that you'll be with them tonight. And Lord, we seek your face. And Father, we also pray for our police and fire that are serving right now. We ask that you protect them, build a hedge around them, get them home safely. We thank you for their service. We pray, Lord, that everything that is said and done here tonight would be that to glorify thy name. And Father, we do seek your face tonight, Lord, seeking wisdom to govern the affairs of our city. For we do ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Roll call, please.
Creighton?
Here.
Raymond?
Here.
Vieira?
Here.
Vineyard is absent. Price?
Here.
We have quorum. Mayor or city attorney report out from closed session.
Mr. Terpstra, please.
Well, not much happened, as you know, Mr. Mayor. We're just a half an hour late because we were, no. In any event, members of the council and the public, council did meet in closed session on a couple of items tonight. One was the threatened litigation concerning the California Fair Voting Rights and the district elections issue. Staff was given direction to bring back a resolution at the next council meeting to initiate that effort, and certainly a lot of discretion will remain with the council in terms of how and when that happens, but that will be a process that we'll be looking at and considering at the next meeting. In addition, staff gave an update to the council members on the status of negotiations with our recognized bargaining units, and good discussion ensued there with further direction needed by council members from staff, which will be continued at the next meeting. Other than that, there are no reportable items for action.
Thank you.
There's no subsequent need items, so our next item on the agenda is approval of agenda as posted or as amended. I would bring to your consideration that we do need to remove item number 10, as well as remove item number 11 and reschedule that for July 10th, 2017.
Okay. Okay. With those two for consideration, are there any other items on the agenda for consideration for amendment by council? If not, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
A second. Call for the question.
Vieira?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Creighton?
Yes.
Vineyard is absent. Price?
Yes.
Motion passes. Ceremonial matters. Police Officer of the Year.
Do we have? Yeah, he better be here. Come on up. Are we on? There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great honor this evening to heap some praise on one of our Atwater's finest, Patrick Rentke. Patrick and I have ridden a couple of times here on our ride-alongs. Patrick originally came to us from Livingston, did he not? And he has dedicated himself to the city of Atwater, and I can tell you, having seen him actually in action out here on the streets of Atwater, I can tell you that this is absolutely one of Atwater's finest. And I can, you know, any one of our officers could be up here in Patrick's position this evening. They're all of the finest. But Patrick, this is your night to shine tonight. And so we're going to, do it for you this evening. Chief, would you like to say a few words?
As the mayor said, Patrick is one of our star athletes, I call it. Came from us from City of Livingston. I always bother my dear friend Chief Chavez regarding that, taking Mr. Racky from them. Not only a fine officer, but an officer that steps up to the plate. Recently, one of our investigators, detectives in narcotics, had to go on maternity leave. And we were this was the big case that we were working on that everybody knows about, the narcotics case. And Mr. Racky, who had experience up in Livingston doing so, stepped up and took over that role temporarily, knowing that. And from the staff over there and the supervisors over there was well recognized and appreciated for his job. And he was a great help on that investigation. And detectives do the same thing with him. They borrow him all the time because he's got extreme knowledge. The city of Atwater is very, very fortunate to have an officer like Officer Racky. If I can hire an officer every day like Officer Racky, I think council might even approve the budget for that one. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I would just say, with Patrick, I've watched him, as I say, in action, and his people skills are second to none. Talking to folks that we did when we were out, he knows, these people in the neighborhood. I was shocked. I mean, he knows people that we were going out on calls with. He knows their family members and things. It was amazing. I mean, this is really, truly community policing at its finest. And it was just a pleasure, and it's a pleasure to ride with any of the officers whenever, the opportunity presents itself. But Patrick is really one of a kind, and I'm glad that he's with this department. Thank you very much, Patrick. Thank you.
Comments from the public. At this time, any person may comment on any item which is not on the agenda. Please state your name and address for the record. Action will not be taken on an item that is not on the agenda. If it requires action, it will be referred to staff and/or placed on a future agenda. To comment on an item that is on the agenda, please wait until the item is read for consideration. Please limit comments to a maximum of 5 minutes.
Anyone? Well, we'll let the crowd thin down here. Okay. Are there any members of the audience wishing to address the council at this time?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm exerting my First Amendment right to freedom of speech.
Mr. Johnson, I'm sorry to interrupt. Would you please state your name?
Frank Johnson,
for the record.
Modesto, California.
Thank you, sir.
When I speak under the Constitution that protects the freedom of speech. I will not be harassed, threatened, or intimidated. I have a right to speak and speak clearly, especially if I'm speaking on something that concerns the city and the truth. At that point, I have nothing else to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other members of the audience that wish to speak a public comment at this time? Okay, seeing none, next agenda item.
Consent calendar. Notice to the public. Background information has been provided on all matters listed under the consent calendar, and these items are considered to be routine. All items under the consent calendar are normally approved by one motion. If discussion is requested on any item, that item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate action.
Okay. Are there any items on the consent calendar that the council would like to remove for separate consideration? Mr. Creighton.
4 and 6.
Okay, 4 and 6.
Wait, no, scratch that. 4 and 7.
4 and 7, okay. And also have a request for number 6 and 7. And are there any others? Any members of the audience wishing to remove anything from the consent calendar for separate consideration? Okay. Entertain a motion for the remainder.
Motion to approve.
A second. Okay. Call for the question.
Raymond?
No.
Viera?
Yes.
Vineyard is absent. Creighton?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item number 4. Authorizing the Atwater Community Center lease agreement with Yosemite Church.
Okay.
After reviewing the lease agreement, I noticed that we still maintain, we're collecting a lease payment from them, yet we maintain the grounds with our public works employees. Can't we use the monies that we get from the lease to maintain that facility in a better manner, more professional, have that money used to hire a gardening company or something out there to, we're charging these people a fee to use our facility, and we only have a handful of guys. And to get it up to the level we need to have it at, and that's one of our gems in the city, I like to see that lease payment used towards cleaning the place up. Cut the bushes, have some of those ripped out, but not all at once, but every month we do something positive out there, and we continue professionally to have it landscaped and maintained. The irrigation box, I took Raymond out there with me, and the backboard for the irrigation control is literally falling off, and there's wires, everything else sticking out. There's a couple of memorial benches in the redwoods that I didn't even know existed, and they're all overgrown, and I just want to see those funds used in a more positive way.
Okay.
The church also is on July 1st, which is Saturday, is bringing in their landscapers to do all the bushes. And they've offered, try to help us out too. Just so you know,
It's unfortunate.
general fund money.
Yeah, it is.
Left is general fund money.
It is, and what they're doing out there, they've contributed quite a bit to the community center. It looks great out there. The marquee sign needs some help, so we have the rent coming in. Let's turn that money back around into maintaining that facility is what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Raymond.
I just, agree with Councilman Creighton. They pay good money over there, and it's not really something that deals with Ms. Ron. It's more of a council decision, I believe. And, we also need to turn the water on because the place is dying. We need to make it look good for the people that are there, and, because it is a revenue generator. It's not only just the church, but we could rent it out for other occasions, and I think it's something that we definitely need to look at.
Sandy?
Yeah, the other rentals is where we make the money. They're nonprofit, so, it's kind of even out there. But it's the other rentals, the weddings, the quinceañeras, the sweet 16s, all those is where, those are the people that are paying the bigger bucks.
And obviously, if it presented itself better, we would probably get more rental income. You drive by and it looks destroyed, you don't want to have a wedding reception there.
You're right. And they like
Be more of a venue.
Okay.
take pictures outside. Yeah.
we don't need to.
Mary, did you have a comment?
Yes, I would. Mary
Are we going to open this
McWaters.
up to public comment of this consent item?
Well,
Once it's pulled from consent, the public does have a right to speak
Okay.
on the
Yeah.
items.
Thank you. What I'd like to say is Mary McWaters asked me, Local 2703, and I do represent the miscellaneous unit who does have the Parks unit. I would like to remind Mr. Creighton and the board that contracting out employee work is, it's a meet and confer item. It's something that has to be discussed with the union. You can't just do it. Now, if they're volunteering, the people that are using and volunteering to do it, that's fine. But if you're going to contract out and pay a separate company, that is not acceptable. If you're going to use some of that money, put it towards staff pay. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, so the item itself, and your concern, I understand what you're saying there about that, but it doesn't go direct to the lease per se, the approval of the lease. You're talking about the revenue generation that comes from the lease. As this is on here, authorizing the Atwater Community Center lease agreement and Yosemite Church, and authorizes and directs the city manager to sign a lease agreement.
Right, what I'm trying to get at is, if we can't contract it out, which is fine, we get a part-time public works employee out there at the equal amount that we dedicate. I don't want to see, we say, okay, we're going to have public works do some more stuff, and then we take the money, we spend it on public works, and the guys never get the time they need to get out there, because they go out
You
there.
want to make it a line item towards the community center?
Yeah, so
Okay.
if we have to get a part-time person dedicated to that we're not, we tend to lose sight of these things all the time. We're going to do this and it never happens. So a part-time employee, if we can do it with that much money or whatever, dedicated 2-3 days a week out there, or 2 hours, 2 days a week or something.
A point that we can make during our discussions for budget.
Exactly.
Okay. Ms. Vieira?
So instead of, just a suggestion, instead of approving the lease as it is, why don't we just lower the amount we charge them and have them maintain the property? We have public works people that have more to do than what they can even handle, and that would benefit us financially because we're not paying an extra person, CalPERS, insurance, hourly wages, and it's their church. They would have pride anyway, so why don't we offer them a lesser term in their lease in order to maintain the property? It seems like they have a good intention to do that and a desire for it to look nice as well, so that would be an option, for just modify the lease.
Well, either way, whether we lower it or we take a line item,
We can
or
put
make
that-
a line item out of the revenue generated out of there, we accomplish the same thing.
Well, not really. Not really, because if we put a line item and the Parks Department right now, those gentlemen working there, ladies, gentlemen, they have more to do on their plate than they have hours in the day to do it. So then that puts us either neglecting another park in our area in order to maintain this, or hiring another person. And hiring another person, in order to do that, we now not only have a wage, but we have retirement, we have insurance. It would, versus telling the church, hey, we'll give you a $300 a month break, can you maintain the property? Because then they're doing it, we're not paying it, and Pastor Steve or whoever can find someone from the church. Usually when you get a church together, they will find someone within their community to assist in maintaining that. Takes the work off of our guys and the financial strength from that. So that's why I'd like to propose if maybe they would be willing to
Okay,
take a cheaper route on their end
and do that.
and be able to have a little more pride in the church they pull up to on Sunday.
Okay. Mr. Terpstra, we would need to go back and have a discussion with them and then to
Yeah, we
modify the
can,
lease.
staff can go back and make that proposal, and then we'll bring it back. There's not an urgency to adopt it tonight. We can wait
Okay.
and do that.
Mr. Creighton?
That's it.
That's fine. Okay.
I just want it cleaned up.
Yeah,
Like all-
understand. Which was the next one here?
Number 6, authorizing issuance and sale of tax allocation refunding bonds, approving the form of an indenture of trust, approving the form of an escrow agreement, and authorizing other certain actions.
Good evening, Mayor, honorable members of the council. My name is Albert Pichet, and if you recall, back on May the 8th, the City Council and the successor agency adopted an intent resolution to refinance the city's, or the redevelopment agency's existing bonds. And what you have before you, as was discussed in that staff report, are the legal documents to do that. I have with me tonight Catherine Thursby from the law firm of Nossaman LLP to answer any questions on the legal documents. What I would like to say before that is the city has 3 outstanding redevelopment bond issues. The 1998 bonds, of which there's $965,000 left. The 2007 A bonds, of which there's $5,580,000 left. And the 2008 bonds, 2008 AB taxable bonds, of which there are $1,530,000 left. The bonds mature by June the 1st, 2026, and we are going to refinance the bonds and not extend the maturity on the bonds. The savings on the bonds are going to flow to the affected agencies, of which the city is going to be the biggest beneficiary, as you have in Exhibit A. Within the first 2 years, there should be savings to the city of $258,000. The other participants are the Atwater Elementary School District, which we estimate savings to be about $105,000, the Merced Union High School District of $92,000, the Merced Community College District of $36,000, and other affected agencies. This authorization will allow us to proceed to send out a term sheet to prospective banks to bid on the issue. Those bids will be calculated, and an award will be made to the most responsible bidder. And we would expect this issue to close sometime in August or September, and the reason we don't have an exact date is this has to go through the DOF, the Department of Finance, for approval, since it's a former redevelopment agency bond issue. The savings, gross overall savings is going to be about $820,000, of which I mentioned some of the affected agencies, of which the city is the biggest beneficiary. The net present value savings we would estimate right now to be 8.19%, and that's well in excess of the 3% net present value savings threshold. By net present value, we mean in today's dollars after accounting for all cost of issuance. So with that, I'd like Catherine Thursby to discuss the legal documents that are before you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, and I certainly would encourage the speaker to be ready to answer any questions. This is pulled from the consent calendar because there are questions on the underlying documents, or?
No, this was, go ahead, Catherine.
It's legally required to be
Oh,
not
I'm sorry,
be approved on the consent calendar. We asked for
We didn't do
them
that
to
the
be.
last time. Okay, all
Yeah.
right, gotcha.
For the
Thank you.
resolution of intent, it was okay to be on the consent calendar, but for
Right.
the actual resolution of approval, it cannot be.
Understood.
So to accomplish the approval of this financing, we've got 3 documents in front of you today. We've got a resolution of approval. We have an indenture, which is a document which will contain all of the terms of the bonds, and the form of the bond delivered to bondholders is attached to that indenture. And that will allow the city to continue to use tax increment, just as it has with its prior outstanding debt, to pay off the new bonds, which Albert just described. And the third document we have for you is an escrow agreement, and that's a contract that will tell an escrow agent who will hold the proceeds of the bonds how to go about paying off the old debt in a very timely manner and to take care of all of that. So if you've had a chance to review those and you have any questions, I'm happy to answer questions about any of the terms of those agreements.
Any questions pertaining to the loan, to the documents? Okay. The only question I have is for Albert. The rate that would be part of this reissuance, is the percentage ahead of the most recent Fed 0.25% increase?
You mean the current rate that's like right now versus
Right.
what was projected a month
Right.
ago?
Right.
Yeah, I think rates have dropped somewhat, and even with the Fed raising rates last week,
Right.
the longer-term debt actually declined in value, or the rates declined in value, so you have a really flat yield curve.
Okay.
So I think that these are conservative estimates. I think we can do better, but a lot is going to be dictated by when the Department of Finance allows us to actually close the issue. So they have a 65-day window, so what we're going to try to do is to go out for bid sometime in the next few weeks, and that goes to probably about 10 banks. So they provide the bids, and then those bids are calculated and will be discussed with staff. and then we will apprise the Department of Finance. But we cannot close the issue until the Department of Finance authorizes us to do so, basically. But they will see the savings, and the savings is a benefit to the community. It's a benefit to the state, because the state backfills a lot of the elementary school district, union high school district, community college district, and somewhat, not so much the county office of education. So that's a real benefit to the state because they fund education. So I think to answer your question, we don't know what the rate is going to be, but we can try to move forward as quickly as possible. We know that we have to have at least a net present value savings of at least 3% as required by one of the statutes. So we're going to try to move forward as quickly as possible, get a rate, and then execute a rate lock, and then wait for the state to authorize this.
Okay.
That-
Very good.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so we need a motion for this particular item.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, well, the motion would be as listed on your agenda, the staff recommendation. You can move the staff recommendation if that's the council's desired action.
And I'll make that motion then. To adopt a resolution, SA 2017-6, authorizing the issuance of the sale of tax allocation refund bonds, approving the form of the indenture of trust, approving the form of an escrow agreement, and authorizing other certain actions in connection with these approvals.
I will second that.
Any more further discussion? Okay, call for the question.
Mr. Vineyard is absent. Viera?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Creighton?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item number 7, approving the City of Atwater debt management policy.
I pulled this one, and I was just wanting to have staff explain what the policy entails. Or Quinder.
Well,
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
members of the council, as we note in the staff report, the government code now requires any issuer of public debt to provide to the California Debt and Investment Advisory Commission prior to the sale of any debt issue, a report of the proposed issuance. And also, we're required to have a debt management policy that provides the guidelines under which the city will incur debt and what those parameters would be. And so that's the purpose of the policy. It's something that we've gone through and spent some time with the consultants on in connection with this bond issuance, and we needed that in place in order to do that. So I can answer specific questions you have about the policy if you want to go, if you want to ask.
No,
them.
I just wanted staff to share what it was.
Yeah.
Most people don't understand what it is, so I want to make sure that everybody's clear on what we're doing here.
Yeah, it's basically, as we said, to set parameters for issuing debt and how to manage your debt portfolio, and providing, guidance to the decision makers, like as to what sort of financing mechanisms you'll consider, which ones are permissible, and that type of thing. Does that make any sense?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
any other questions as to pertain for item number 7 of the consent? If not, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second. Call for the question.
Creighton?
Yes.
Vineyard is absent. Viera?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Motion passes. Treasurer's report for the month of May 2017.
Mr. Heller?
Sure, Mr. Heller's here.
Is not here. Oh, okay.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I apologize, 2 of the pages are not being downloaded in this package for the treasurer's report. But as you can see, our beginning balance was altogether for all the funds is $22 million, and our ending balance is $24 million for the month of May. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Are there any questions for Ms. Deal on the treasurer's report? Any comments or questions from the audience? Okay, hearing none, entertain motion.
I believe that's just 4. Yeah,
Motion to approve.
Second.
Call for the question.
Viera.
Yes.
Vineyard is absent. Creighton.
Yes.
Raymond.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Motion passes. Interim city manager report. Number 9, verbal report regarding the proposed medical and commercial marijuana ordinance number CS 982.
Yeah, inasmuch as the interim city manager isn't here tonight, the only purpose for opening this now would be to take any comments or questions from the public and then relay those to the city manager unless,
Okay.
do you have anything further?
Yes, he's asking that you look at your packet, item number 9. The Community Development and Resources Commission has outlined certain issues for the city council to consider. And staff is asking for input and direction on the items that are on tab 9. There's a memo in your packet with, I think, 3 bullets that staff would like direction on for the ordinance.
May I request something? Public is having hard time hearing you all, so if you can all speak it to your mic, please.
Anyone in particular? Okay.
Is it mine? Okay. I guess I'm the one who's hard to hear here. So if we could just walk through these very quickly then, and I'm happy to take that on.
Okay.
The items included, 1, whether to create a mechanism to charge an education fee or a community service fee so that businesses involved in commercial marijuana could contribute towards a fund to assist in public education or possibly community service and public health projects. So is the council desirous of moving down that path to create a mechanism to charge an education fee? And would you like staff to explore what that would look like and then bring that to back to the CDRC and then to the council for consideration? We can take these in order, or I can summarize them, whatever.
Let's do them in order.
Do them all, and then we'll come back.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to comment on this one.
Yeah,
Okay,
please,
go ahead.
So education, we just spent the last 30 years educating youth to not smoke. We had a young lady came in and gave a presentation on smoking and the detriments to it, and now we're getting ready to authorize this product that you have to smoke. So it's kind of an oxymoron. And then the youth education program, we should, if we're going to do something, we need to look into a little bit deeper with the Smoking Act's point that we're trying to educate youth not to smoke, yet we're getting ready to approve something that they're going to have to smoke when they become an adult. So the education component, what are we talking about? Are we going to be telling them, don't do this until you're old enough to do it, or period, don't smoke? So I think I would definitely like him to look into it more and come up with a more comprehensive approach to that, not just a mechanism to say, well, we did our obligation and we gave the school a pittance and we hope they don't smoke.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my comment on the education portion.
Mr. Raymond?
I believe there was an educational aspect worked into Prop 64. It's going to be included in the taxes on a state level.
Yeah.
So you're thinking that would be duplicating?
Yeah.
We did it.
Okay. So number 2?
This would be, according to the staff report, considering creating a limit on the number of physical locations, businesses, or regulatory licenses. The commission had considerable discussion regarding this topic. The number of no more than 2 was expressed. Other members felt it was too low, should be higher or not capped at all. The city's proposed ordinance does allow for vertical integration, and that allows a regulatory permit holder to perform various and multiple activity types of uses at one location. The state, however, requires some form of separation of uses. That might be physical barriers, or it might be separate facilities in the same location, or might require separate facilities at the same location. The state would allow for an applicant to have multiple licenses, which would support vertical integration at the local level. The main concern seems to be how pervasive this business may become locally if it becomes vertically integrated. Other issues expressed were what would happen if many operate locally and then they all fail or move away. Again, broad policy question, but the big issue here is, do you want to limit the number of these operations in the city by way of an ordinance?
Mr. Crane?
The question is, should the city limit how many of these businesses come in, all aspects of the business? That's research and development, growing, and distribution. My feelings are we should limit it to an area, commercial or industrial area, however these are classified. I think I'd like to see that focus, not all around town, but in one area, or, a designated area where there's these type of facilities could operate if they are going to operate. We contain them to those areas. That's what I would like to see limited.
You'd like to see that?
That more defined, not just say the city says, okay, you can have 1 or 50, but I would like to see the city say, okay, only in these designated areas can you have those, and then the market dictates, and if the 50% attrition after 5 years of these fail, then we have mechanisms in place, development agreements or whatever else as they build, that we don't end up with derelict buildings.
So handle it more as a land use or a zoning
Correct.
matter. Understood.
I think that's probably a good point to make, because I've always been of the opinion that each one of these should be, as you indicated, in industrial or a commercial area. Goodness gracious. The lion sleeps tonight. All right.
Sorry.
In any case, the thrust of my belief in this and where I agree with you is so that, it is basically a segregated type of a business, so that, it's not encroaching upon
We just treat it
something-
like a car lot or
Right, well, I'm
or
thinking
whatever.
more along the lines of not by stores, regular stores, or churches, or schools, and things
Right.
like that. So
Same-
if
same
it's
philosophy.
integrated into something along those lines right there.
More
So
of a commercial industrial like you have already in the
Yep.
industrial parks.
Yep. Mr. Raymond?
So is this what we're talking about now, rewriting the current ordinance they've been working on, or just
I
changing
think we're
it?
just addressing concerns that came through from the CDRC, and I know that Mary is chomping at the bit here to get up to the podium here in a minute and maybe clarify some things from the commission. So, okay, we'll go through all these. Is that what you wanted to do? Okay, okay, we'll get through all these and then we'll get to you.
Item 3 was considering requiring the use of armed security guards for any business associated with marijuana. In a previous version of the ordinance, which included dispensaries, the requirement to have armed security guards was included. It is at the dispensary level where the public is introduced to these facilities and cash is used for the transactions. So the current version of the ordinance removed all dispensary uses not permitted in the proposed ordinance. When all of that language was stripped, so was the requirement for armed security guards. And the proposed ordinance still has strict security requirements, including video monitoring, alarms, controlled access, fencing, and other items. All proposed businesses must prepare a security plan, reviewed and approved by the police chief as part of that process. And we know that other communities have cooperative security guard services so that the costs are shared among many businesses, and that would certainly hold true if, as Councilmember Creighton indicates, we put them all in one location. So that's the broad issue, security required or not, and they seek direction from the council on that issue.
Yep. Mr. Green, go ahead.
I think a lot of the commissioners there was a lot of good debate. I attended that meeting. The police chief, I want to defer to him. The question was, what type of security, armed, not armed, human beings, electronic? There were a lot of questions at that meeting. I would like to hear what the police chief has to say on that. I think you've got a better background on what's most appropriate. I don't know that we need 1 or 2 or 10 or none at any of these facilities. So what are your comments on this?
Well, you're gonna need security.
The microphone there.
You're going to need.
There you go. Here's the big one.
You're going to need security. We discussed that with the organization. You're going to need security on that facilities. They all know that. The size of it depends on how many security personnel. Armed, unarmed is both needed, and electronic would all be used in these kind of facilities. How many
So if
per?
we had say a 10,000 square foot grow facility or whatever they call it, you want like an industry standard of armed and unarmed and video.
Sure. Yes.
So that's what the
That's what
police-
you would need something like that to facilitate something like that to alleviate the issues on law enforcement.
Okay. So I think my comments would align
I
with
think
the
they
chief.
would want it too.
And I know that I've made this same comment, several times, and, the mention of an armed security force is something that kind of, I think, freaks people out. But again, this is an industry that is proven in the past to have, some rather nefarious people, try to, encroach upon it. Now, whether or not that's going to be something that is going to be, a deal killer here or whatever is, I guess, left to be seen. But the bottom line to all of this, I think, is that Atwater Police is not going to be the security force for these facilities. That's the bottom line. So, yeah, there'll be other discussion,
So
I'm
our-
sure, along those lines.
Our direction back then is to have the CDRC rely on the police chief for direction on that.
Yeah. Okay. Mary, you want to go ahead and make some comment?
Okay, Mary McWaters, now as CDRC Commissioner. I have many hats. There was a lot of discussion can you hear me? Okay. We've had a lot of discussion about this at our meetings, and a few of us, on the part about restricting to 2, a few of us feel that, and Linda Dash is here also, that it might have been premature to recommend that, because it's kind of confusing about how many licenses they have to have and how many facilities or acres or whatever they can have. With this, it's a little confusing until we get a little more clarification on information. And as far as Mr. Creighton's right on how they want to propose it is one area where they have a site, maybe 10 acres, 20 acres, whatever it may be, strictly dedicated to that. Not all around town in little areas, and none of it's outdoor, it's all indoors, and we all agreed on the security. Trying to think what else we touched on. The main thing I want to talk about, that it was a little premature, a few of us think, not all of us, I guess, to limit the amount. But bottom line, what I'd like to say to you guys is that, this city needs money. We all know that. If we hold this up for a long time, other cities are going to take this and they're going to get the money, and we're not going to. Now, what they're doing here at these places, they're not selling it outside their door to everybody. It's going to other places or right here being processed and will be shipped out or delivered out or wherever, but they are not selling product, which I think is important to know. Linda, did you want to say anything? So I think that's it. Yeah, is that it? Didn't you mention anything else? Yeah, that's pretty much it. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Sean, do you?
Oh, okay, sorry. I was also attended the meeting. My name's Sean Arnold.
Well, wait a minute now, Sean, get on up to the podium here so everybody can see you at home and all that.
Atwater.
Start over, what?
Yeah,
okay.
start over again for the listening audience and the viewing audience at home.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sean Arnold. I live at 1633 Westmore Drive in Atwater here. Good evening, council and council members. One of the items that wasn't addressed that was discussed at the meeting was a mechanism or a definition of a reporting period in case there was anything out of line, a hole in the building, whatever may be viewed as suspicious activity. There are built-in mechanisms with the other state agencies for reporting timeframes. And I think that's what they were looking for, to be written in the ordinance, that's all. And we're fine with that, 24 hours, whatever,
Yep.
6 hours.
Did you want to address any of those items that are,
Actually, some of my colleagues will.
okay?
Are we looking to go
prepared
through
for
all of
that.
those, or are we looking to give direction to the CDRC? We could be here all night doing that.
No, but,
Well, they've got 3 minutes each, and
I know how
I'm
much
sure
time they
it'll
have.
be
well,
quick.
What
no,
do we-
it'd be fine, you know, if they have input that might be helpful to any of this. Mr. Larks, do you have anything that you want to add to this, or has it all been pretty well covered?
No, I mean, I brought people here that wanted to speak on the issue.
Okay, how about, can you handle it in 3 minutes?
I can have mine.
Okay. Okay, let's just run through this quickly here, and go ahead. Let's do that now. I just don't want to be repetitive. I don't, you know.
Right, no,
if-
everyone's going to speak on a different
Okay.
subject. My name is Dwight Larks. I live at 2388 Neves Road in Gustine, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I was also at the CVRC meeting, and the commissioners expressed their concern about having security for this industry that people, you know, heard about but haven't really seen. I think that their concerns are valid. I don't believe personally that we need armed security for every single license type. You're going to have facilities, hopefully, that have multiple license types. You're going to have, hopefully, multi-acre facilities. So it would be very beneficial in the city trying to attract these operators if they could at least share security forces. So if it's industrial park or whatever zone that the city decides, that the security just kind of go around and check these facilities out. There's a lot of cash at dispensaries, but the ordinance isn't written including dispensaries. There was a big mention about education for the youth. Dispensaries, if the city allows dispensaries, as Mr. Brian Raymond was alluding to, there are grant programs for local municipalities which allow retail activity that kick in from all the money that's coming in from the state. So there's a percentage of money from the state that is dedicated to local programs to educating the youth, figuring out whether or not it's affecting car accidents, driving under the influence. There's all these programs that kick in once you allow retail activity. So I just wanted to make sure that the city would be, I want to make the city aware that if you do not allow your local citizens to get their products locally here, then the city is actually insisting that that money that is available at the state level for grants, a percentage of the 15% of the retail sales is going for those grants. You're just saying, no, we don't want that money because we don't want dispensaries. So that's just a consideration. I got 5 minutes, but it's at 2 minutes now, so, I mean, I don't want to.
Quickly.
Okay. Here's my take on it. We got lessons to learn, and we should really study. When you're trying to study the cannabis industry, you should study what happened in the alcohol industry when it first was prohibited and then it became legal. What did legalization of alcohol do? It made sure that the alcohol was safe. It made sure that the workers were safe. It made sure that there was workers' comp, that they were properly paid. So I would just encourage that the city rethink and make sure they get all the money that's available from the state, because the sales are going to happen regardless. And I think that the city of Atwater, the citizens of Atwater, deserve to know where they can go for these products.
Okay, well, we're just
That's
trying to
all.
address these
Oh,
three
the
items here.
issues.
so- Okay,
Yeah, that's it.
okay, thanks. Okay, so we're at,
We got one more.
we're gonna, okay. Zach, go ahead.
Mayor Price, members of the council, thank you again for the opportunity to be heard. My name's Zach Travon. I'm an attorney. My address for my office is 2431 West March Lane, Stockton, 95207. shared part of my story with you a few times now, but I'll take this time to up front preface my comments just to share with you, and hopefully this is words of encouragement, that there are a number of local property owners, prospective investors, and some very competent operators that are poised and looking at the city of Atwater, ready to work collaboratively with city government in the development of some of these projects. And I'd like to touch on a number of these items, but I'd like to also share that I'm very happy and very, very relieved to share that after 14 months of being active with this, one of my clients was recently approved for a commercial cultivation facility in the city of Stockton with unanimous approval of their planning commission. And, you know, we wanted to be proactive about addressing community concerns from the very beginning, following our gaining the approval of the property owner to move forward with the development of the project and then the submittal of our application to the staff. And so even before being informed by staff of our obligation to organize and host community meetings with members of the community in the vicinity of that project, we had actually taken it upon ourselves to do so. And I actually went out into the community, knocking on doors, business owners, residents in that community, to share a little bit of information about the project that we were proposing and answer any questions and concerns that they actually had. And I was happy to find then that after having the opportunity to share that information, I actually didn't really receive any negative feedback about the project itself. And I think that there are reassuring factors about these projects that have mainly to do with the security personnel that the businesses will be providing and the security infrastructure that they would implement. And to share a few of those that pertain to the security plan that we put in front of the Stockton Police Department, starting with our security infrastructure. We propose to have motion-activated security cameras positioned around our perimeter fence that, when activated, captured a 30-second clip of whatever activity caused that activation. And that speaks to a point that you raised, Mayor. The ability to capture that 30-second clip of whatever triggered that activity allows the operator, as well as the police department who'd have access to that system, the ability to confirm whether or not there was a legitimate security threat on premises and prevent any unnecessary dispatch of local authorities to that location. Moving along to the 360-degree exterior surveillance coverage that we would implement on that facility, as well as all of the interior rooms, with the exception of the restroom, the employee break rooms, and some of the executive offices equipped with comprehensive surveillance coverage. We also proposed a uniquely identified key card access control system. The way that works is, depending on the particular credentials of one of the employees, that would dictate their ability to authorize different portions of the facility. So taking the interior surveillance cameras, working in conjunction with that access control system, which allows the business and PD to track and audit employee movement, we would be able to prevent the unauthorized diversion of the product from the facility. We're also pretty close to some of the law enforcement agencies in that particular city. But some of the other factors that provided reassurance for this particular project: one, there would be no exterior signage indicating what the nature of the business operation taking place within would be. There would be no public access. I think at this point there's not overwhelming support for dispensary operations in the city of Atwater. And so for commercial facilities with cultivation, manufacturing, everything that does not allow public access, your employees arrive in the morning, they check in, they leave in the evening when the operation closes. Another thing that we proposed would be a total of 3 security staff members. One would be a roving patrol guard canvassing the area surrounding the facility. We'd also have a guard stationed at the entrance to the facility within a sally port. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with what a sally port is, you have the front door to the facility, which would remain locked, as would all exterior access points. Behind that first locked door would be your guard with another locked door behind him. So whenever you have a visitor to the facility, they gain access through the first locked door, have their credentials verified, and only after those credentials are verified are they able to access the rest of the facility. We also had value transfer protocols written into our security plan. So whenever you have a transfer of product off-site, we designated a particular space within the facility where that transaction would take place. The routes taken by the transporters would be varied, as would the timing of those transfers, so that you're ensuring maximum security surrounding those types of transactions. We would also have, in addition to our roving patrol guard and our guard at the entrance, a security manager stationed in an interior office 24 hours a day, one during the hours of operation, and then another that remains there during off hours to monitor the surveillance cameras and serve as a 24-hour point of contact for local authorities right there at the facility all day long. And so, kind of segueing into some of the proposals that we've seen tonight, something like a roving patrol guard in a designated industrial district could be a shared cost amongst a number of operators. It was a long process, going through the politics to dealing with staff, their recommendations. It takes time, but you have operators and investors and property owners at your doorstep that are willing to go through those processes and get the best result for the city of Atwater. And I thank you for your time.
Very good. Thank you, Zach. Mr. Creighton?
This is for the city attorney. I hear a lot of comments about how this is going to be the boon for the city. Some commissioner members are putting all the stakes on this. It's an all-in, all chips in thing. I'm not all sold on that. However, there's members here that say this is a billion-dollar industry in the United States of America, and hundreds of millions of dollars can be captured here in these cities. I think that if it's that lucrative and that great of a deal, we were just meeting with the police department and dispatch, our lack of facilities that we have. I want to get involved with the CDRC, that we start talking about, if this industry is going to come to our town, they're going to have to upgrade our facilities. We have a dispatch center that's gravely inadequate. It's antiquated. We're looking at a lot of money to upgrade this, and this is just going to put a huge burden on it. Is there a way we could get into development agreements with these projects, because, or some type of impact fee that they cover their way? I mean, this is going to put a big burden on us, and I want to make sure that as we're asking for comments, we let the CDRC know that we're facing some major upgrades in PD.
Well, there are certainly some issues that go along with this, especially if you start approaching it from a zoning or a land use standpoint, that if they go through that process, the land use entitlement process, and we can establish a nexus between impacts that the project would have on law enforcement, public safety, et cetera, then the vehicle of a development agreement, which is allowed in the planning and zoning law, might be a way to address some of that. And again, that's a voluntary process on the part of both parties. That you can't force anybody to sign a development agreement, and they can't force us to sign one.
Right.
But certainly where there's mutual best interest and common goals and objectives, we can try to, memorialize all that in a development agreement that does provide targeted assistance for public facility, or public safety rather. And I
So
think
how can we integrate that in for the CDRC as they're working through our?
Well, I think probably just in the language of the proposed ordinance, we might just provide for a development agreement process to be part of that land use process. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
Atwater City Council, thank you for having this meeting tonight and allowing us to participate. My name's Shelby Lucero. I'm an activist from Sacramento, California. I've been called a subject matter expert. I wanted to let you know that not just men are part of the cannabis community. It's a rising opportunity for female executives too. And I'm part of a women's group called Women Grow. And we are located in Sacramento. There are some cities and counties all over. Our next meeting will be July 7th, and I'll be speaking there. I have 3 cannabis corporations, and they're all about compliance. I don't touch the medicine myself, but compliance meaning completely transparent. So you can collect taxes, you can see how your money's spent, you can see how much money is coming to your city or county, and you can keep it within your community. It's kind of the interesting part of it. And the advocacy part of it is, I could sit here and tell you how you obviously don't have, safe access for patients and why they need the cannabis medicine. Most people that you probably know of would be using it for cancer or probably even something like epilepsy. There are many other uses for cannabis, and it's not just to smoke, by the way. We have many different modalities and delivery systems. You can use it as a topical if you don't want to feel the euphoria of the high of the cannabis. You can use a different strain that's a CBD strain that doesn't have any euphoric values whatsoever. You can use it as a tincture under your mouth. You can put it in a tea. You can have it in a brownie, as you may well know and have heard of. But as a mother of a 4-year-old cancer patient, that would be me, and as mayor of a small town that was represented much like you, I understood how much that meant to have your community reach you and talk to you about what they want. And I looked at your community development plan or your budget, and it doesn't look so great. I mean, you could use cannabis to completely rebuild your infrastructure. And I'm not talking about selling out, because many of you up there, I'm looking at your faces and you're like not into this meeting, but I'm talking about helping build a robust infrastructure for the city of Atwater. This is a new rising economy, and you should take advantage of it. Of course, maybe approach it carefully, but as public officials, you have obligations to listen to what your community wants and needs, and you also have financial obligations. You should really take a look at the cannabis community. I wanted to tell you that I do work with a lot of veterans. I come from a huge military family. Last week, I sat down with a 4-star general and a 5-star general and 2 3-star generals. They're really looking into cannabis as a great way to cure PTSD and so many of the opiates prescribed to the military veterans. It's completely ridiculous. Some of them don't even know what medicines are being prescribed for what. I just wanted to let you know that you can keep the money in your community. If you took just take a look at this. If you took 50 cannabis license applications and you charged $50,000 for each cannabis application, and I'm not telling you how to run your community, but that's $2.5 million. You could certainly use some of that money to put code enforcement out there, to help you regulate, to help you collect those taxes. I also have a licensing and a track and trace system, which we keep all the community money in the communities. All you do is log online, you get 1% of whatever your community brings back to our company, and you don't even have to do anything. The growers register themselves. They have to have security plans that you talked about. They have to be non-felons. They have to have the proper setbacks. They have to have a required list of ingredients, just like the perfect recipe. So I just wanted to leave you with that. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to pass out my business card at the end. And I just wanted to say, keep cannabis a friendly conversation. It could be something, like I said, don't use it as don't think you're selling out, but think of yourself as building a new opportunity and a new infrastructure for your city. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, council members. My name is Stephanie Perez, and I'm an attorney here in Merced. I've been practicing for 12 years, and part of my practice is concerns children, and I know there's a lot of concern about the impact on our youth. Councilman Creighton talked about education and the dilemma that he is seeing with telling children not to smoke, yet we're going to educate them on smoking. That's not exactly what would be happening. Like with alcohol, we educate our children on safety. Just like other medications, we advocate safety and put in place mechanisms for safety, for secure locations. And what I'm finding is that the principal concept regarding children is safety and welfare. Health, safety, and welfare. Health, we would educate them on health. We should not have, what is in the best interest of a child? A healthy parent. And if a healthy parent means the use of cannabis as their prescribed medicine, they should be able to get it locally and not have to leave their children to another city to obtain their medicine. Welfare. This is about educating children on the proper use, the proper time, the proper age. That is about their welfare. And safety. We need to make sure that our people of our community have safe access to their medicine, that they're not getting it off the street where it's not regulated. So health, safety, and welfare, that goes beyond just our children. It goes on to our citizens. So we need to protect their health, their safety, and their welfare. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Dr. Michael Slasinski. I'm from Fremont, California.
Doctor, if you could you bring up the microphone and speak directly into there? You're pretty soft. I thought Mr. Terpster was soft-spoken, but you got the first prize tonight.
Well, doctors and lawyers it's nice when they have calm voices. At any rate, my name is Dr. Michael Slasinski. I'm from Fremont, California. I'm an advocate of the cannabis industry. I am a board-certified physician in the state of California. I have a long journey that I could share with you. It's probably important to know who I am and why I'm here. I come from Massachusetts. I migrated through my education and my career in the Navy. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran of 8 years active duty. I joined the Navy then because I could not afford medical school. I went from Fordham University to Georgetown University. I did all my training postgraduate at Naval Hospital San Diego. I then spent 3 years in Yokosuka, Japan. Prior to that, I also served as the medical officer on the USS Truxtun, a nuclear-guided missile cruiser. I done 9 months at sea, continuous. I understand the military. I understand the veteran situation and the problems of post-traumatic stress syndrome, as well as multiple other benefits of marijuana use, both primarily medically. I'm here to advocate for the city of Atwater. I'm actually here with my associates, Dwight Lark, Stephanie Perez, and Sean Arnold, hoping that we can work with the city of Atwater and help them to achieve a development agreement. We're a group of professionals. I didn't really complete my curriculum vitae where I ended up, what I did in the Navy, but I was a board-certified obstetrician gynecologist, and I did some good things post-Navy after my Navy training. My Navy training taught me to basically do the right thing. I turned around a very weak medical department that had nuclear reactors and nuclear weapons on board. I was actually assigned to the ship because of those needed responsibilities. I was the radiation safety officer. I achieved the Navy Achievement Medal through my commitments to the Navy and the Navy community. I've carried that philosophy of life in my career throughout my medical career. After I left the Navy, after 8 years, I became the lead obstetrician gynecologist for the Palo Alto Medical Foundation in Fremont. I developed that practice to a very large group of 10 or 12 OBs, nurse practitioners, reproductive E&I people. I tell you this because I work hard and try to do the right thing. That's why I'm here. I'm retired now. I retired about 2-3 years back, but I have my energies, my intellect, my desire to help, and actually, now that I'm a retired physician, it's my obligation to pay back to the community. Now, I live in Fremont, but I've been asked to come here as a professional and as a concerned practitioner to try to help the city of Atwater and our team develop something that is a win-win for everybody. I'm committed to this because I have personal experience with marijuana, not just as a physician. I've never prescribed marijuana. I'm not a doctor that goes to just provides prescriptions for people because they think they need marijuana. I'm a very conscientious physician. My primary goal is now to really try to help advocate from a medical perspective, from a safety perspective. There have been concerns about new syndromes that are developing and showing up in emergency rooms. Well, I, as part of the professional team of our group of professionals, want to work with emergency room physicians, continue with the education process, and really make sure that this industry comes properly and correctly and safely for the community and for all involved. And with that, I certainly hope you consider all of these options. and
Thank you, Doctor.
alternatives.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, so this is a staff update. No action required.
Staff, I think staff will take the direction that you provided tonight and go with that.
Right. Okay. Let's go on to the next agenda.
Next item, which is now item number 12, adopting 2017-2018 fiscal year budget and approving fund expenditures and fund transfers, amending classification plan and approving salary schedule B-17 effective July 1st, 2017.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you recall, at our last meeting, we continued this particular item under the public hearing category, and that's why it's on the agenda again this evening. We are at a juncture right now whereas there are still a lot of open item discussions pertaining to this budget, and as was so rightly stated by Mrs. Dash at the last council meeting, we want to get this one right. All of us up here have a fiduciary requirement to make sure that, you know, this city is represented and the budget is far and away the most important aspect of that. So this evening we'll continue public hearing. I will allow for anyone to give any kind of testimony that they would like to pertaining to the budget. And from that point on, I will make a motion. Is there anyone in the audience this evening wishing to speak on the continuance of the public hearing? Okay. Seeing none coming forward, we'll bring it back to the council. It is my motion that the budget be continued until the meeting of the 24th. And the reason that I say the 24th is that that will be the next meeting that Councilmember Vineyard will be able to attend with us so that we can address this. In between this time, I would ask that the council members take a look at your calendars and select a series of dates that may be good, that we can do one workshop at least, possibly two if need be. But in any case, my motion is for continuance of this particular item to the meeting of the 24th of July.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
You mean the alternate recommendation, correct? The
Correct.
resolution to continue so that
Yes.
we can pay our bills.
Yes, correct.
The alternative recommendation in the City Council Board of Directors and Governing Board not to be able to adopt Joint Authority Resolution 296817, resolution number AFPD 1-2017, and resolution SA 2017-5 at this meeting, and adopt the Joint Authority Resolution 2967-17, resolution number AFPD-2-2017, authorizing the city manager to continue making required expenditures to meet current or immediate financial obligations relating to the city operations until the 2017-2018 fiscal year budget is adopted.
That is correct. And again, the date for finalization would be 24 July.
Second.
Mr. Raymond?
This is rolling them both into one motion?
Yeah.
12 and 12.
Well, yes.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Any other comments? Mr. Terpstra?
I believe there's at least one.
Yes,
customer.
we want to make a request for a resolution, as discussed earlier. And due to the ongoing transitional period that we're currently experiencing, the need for a cohesive and stable government during the next period of time or until a city manager's been hired and seated, possibly cleared of probation, the city council would like to have the resolution state that you would need a majority vote by the council for any changes of classifications, raises, promotion, new hires, and any other actual or potential change that would cause a fiscal impact. We request that that be approved by the city council majority vote. We want to make it very clear it's not the intention of this council to interfere with any personnel issues, but simply to oversee any and all items that affect the financial well-being of the city. I feel like we're trying to swat a fly with a Q-tip and everything's moving, and the deeper we go, numbers aren't matching. And so we kind of need to freeze everything the way it is until we can get a hold on what we've got and not just be irresponsible and pass it, because that's all the information we have.
Okay, I'll agree to that as a portion of the.
And I think Tom might help put that a little more eloquently.
And what we'll do, if it's okay with the council, because in a very technical sense, this is not part of the agenda item that's under discussion. It is relevant to it, and we need to address it. I think what we'll do is recommend that you take action on the motion as stated, with the caveat that staff would bring back a more formal resolution to spell out exactly what the council member's saying.
Okay.
As a follow-up item on the 10th of July.
Okay.
And that city staff and the management will certainly have the understanding from this meeting as to what the council's desire is in the interim period.
Okay.
Okay?
That'll work.
So you have a motion in a second that's ready for action.
To re-clarify that, my motion stands.
Yes.
Staff's going to come back with a resolution with what Ms. Vieira said.
Yes.
And in the interim, staff will be directed through the city manager that hold steady, don't do anything until the resolution is adopted.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. With that all now properly recorded, call for the question.
Vineyard is absent. Vieira?
Yes.
Creighton?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Motion passes. City council matters. City council comments.
Okay. Mr. Raymond, kick us off.
I'm going to be simple tonight. The 4th of July is approaching, and I just encourage everybody to remember why we celebrate. We've had the greatest blessings with the liberties bestowed upon us, and we need to remember why and celebrate that. It's next to Easter, the best holiday we have. And also, last meeting, I forgot, got to thank CAL FIRE. The parents at Thomas Alida called for field day. They had no water pressure, so the poor kids were out there playing in little dribbles from a hose. And Chief Pimentel was able to arrange with Chief Schmidt and get the fire department over there and turn the hose on for, 3 minutes? And Chief Pimentel got a message from a parent that said it was the greatest 3 minutes of the school year. So, thank you, CAL FIRE.
Okay. Ms. Vieira. Come on, tell us about your granddaughter.
Oh, that's all news. I don't have any more on the way that I know of, so. Yes, with the 4th of July around the corner, everybody just please be safe and have a fun and safe time with your family. And those are the moments that make life really, really good.
Yep. Absolutely. Mr. Creighton.
Allied Waste.
Yes, sir.
Trash lids on several cans. I'm getting way too many phone calls, and mine flew off the trash Friday morning. My black can lid went out into the trash can into the truck also, and one of my neighbors came, knocked on my door and said his was out, and then I've gotten probably 4 or 5 people complaining about it, and I've driven around during trash day, and a lot of them are broken in half and What's our plan? What are we doing?
They are. Actually, we were working with the city manager's office in discussions on how to deal with that. The process was that if an individual's lid was broken, they would contact us or contact the city would then report it to us, and we would get it fixed.
They're doing it, and we're having a
We have-
difficulty getting through to you?
We have changed that.
Okay.
The number it no longer is going through the city to us. Folks are.
Let's give us the number.
I don't have it on me, sorry. I don't have the number memorized.
Okay.
But I can, if you give me a minute, I can
So
get that for you.
the citizens.
But what is happening now is our drivers are actually taking note of broken lids and reporting those back to our dispatch, who is putting together lists, and they're going back in sections in the city to fix those.
So as a consumer,
Yes.
mine's broken now.
You can
How long do I
contact
gotta
us. If you give me a minute, I can go grab the number and get it to you.
Yeah, we
and-
probably be good to share that tonight.
Absolutely.
The number. What's the average turnaround time if the driver reports it?
If the driver reports it within a week,
Okay.
we're trying to get
That's
those done. We just placed a large order, which the company lost. So we asked them to expedite
Okay.
new shipment of lids to us because we are
So
changing.
You know this and you're addressing it right now.
We are, and because we know because we have changed the way we're doing it, instead of them coming in, trickling into us, we're doing them in large numbers. We're running through the lids a lot quicker than we were before, so now we've placed a larger order to get them in, so we have them in stock, so that can continue to go quickly.
Okay, on the same topic.
Yes.
The green cans, when they do the landscaping, they tend to drag the can around, and the bottoms are chewing out of the bottoms of the cans. And when they put the grass in it, the juice comes out of the bottom if it sits.
Okay.
So they cut it, you guys pick it up,
Mhm.
and then they cut the grass the next day. It sits for a week, and it's leaving stains on there because the grass is dripping.
Dripping
the
through,
stuff.
corrected.
What do they do if there's a
If
chafing
there's
hole in the
a
bottom?
tear or hole in the thing, they can get those replaced. I'm not sure if there is a fee or how, if that can be replaced once a year for
Okay,
free.
but
or
we
if
could
there's a
call
fee.
into that number you're gonna
You
go-
can,
Can you
and I
grab
can get
that
that
number?
before you're done. If you just give me a moment, I can look that up real quick.
That'd be great.
Okay.
And then, I lost my train. Go ahead and do that while I'm
Okay.
gonna talk about some other stuff. The 4th of July is coming up, so we're gonna have a lot of visitors to our town. So if you guys can clean up your houses and sweep your gutters and sidewalks and welcome all the visitors to our town. Also, we're gonna be doing some cleanup ourselves, a couple of council members, I don't know anybody else, with potentially filling some potholes out there. So if any of the residents want to join us in helping Public Works right now is getting ready for the 4th of July event. They've been cleaning up Ralston Park and Osborne and all the facilities around town, and things are looking really good now. So we're going to try to go out and help Public Works, assist them, let them know that we care about what they're doing, and shovel some asphalt along with them. So if anybody wants to help volunteering, I know we do the Love Atwater every year. Let's love on Atwater a little bit before the 4th of July so we can show this place off.
I also want to come back, I know I didn't push my button, but.
Go ahead.
And say thank you, shout out to Paul and Brian, who spent their entire weekend down here stripping and repainting the office for the incoming city manager. They made arrangements at no cost to have new carpet put in, and honestly, with someone new coming in, it shows a little bit of pride of what we're doing, and so I just think they went above and beyond, and it's much, if I was coming in as city manager, I would totally appreciate it, so.
Not the temporary city manager, the eventual full-time city manager.
Absolutely, but in the meantime, it looks really beautiful. Thank you for your time.
And then if you can share that number, please. And we can get this in the newsletter, right?
Absolutely. The number is 209-827-7000. We are also working to get that into the newsletter. We have talked with them about doing that. Also getting that number placed onto the city's website. So if anyone's going to look for information on solid waste, they'll contact us directly and no longer go through your city to get that information for any kind of issues that they're having with their service.
Could you say that number one more time?
209-827-7000.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And who's the contact person we're looking for? Anybody in particular, or just whoever picks up the phone?
Whoever, the receptionist will pick up the phone.
Okay.
Okay. And, next meeting, I will also bring with me my 800 number. if anyone
Goes
has.
same place?
It actually goes to our Fresno office. And so for some other reason, the answer isn't here, they can contact that office and we can use it, they can.
Because there probably will be an
dispatch that.
uptick once we put this in the newsletter and let everybody know,
Absolutely.
hey, if your lid's broken or the can.
Right,
Find
and-
out on that can also if the leaking.
I will find that out and have that information. I will contact the city manager's office tomorrow with that information.
Great.
And then get that to you directly, and I will be back here for your next meeting and be able to update you with that information.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay.
That's all I had, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay. I too want to make mention of our 4th of July. I sit on that committee, and, a lot of people put in a lot of time and a lot of effort into that. Greg McDaniel and his wife and, a whole group of people, on a committee. So full day, if you've never spent a 4th of July in Atwater, you don't know what you're missing. From, the morning run right up until getting out to Castle Airport and seeing and hearing the concert that's going to be out there, and then the fireworks that follow. Coming on to Castle, it's the cheapest date in town, $10 for a carload of people. Pack it tight, $10, it's the greatest deal around. And, we're going to have 2 groups this year. Country Western Band by the name of Cross-Eyed out of Modesto is going to be the featured act. There was some dead time between 6 o'clock and up until the time they came on, or they will come on. So went out and got a local group called the Shakers out of Merced, and they will start off the evening festivities at 6 o'clock. Great group, local guys. They are pretty much a blues roots type of a group. It's a great mix of music that night, followed by a really good fireworks display, go on for about 25 minutes. So come on out, spend $10, pack the car with kids and the neighbors' kids and everything, come out there. Food, it will be available at vendors and all that kind of stuff. It's a great deal. Chief Joseph informed me the tow yard is long overdue, and it is now operational, and we have 11, we have 11 vehicles in there on the 30-day impound right now, as a matter of fact, and that translates to somewhere in the neighborhood at $52 a car per day and all that. It's around $17,000 a month for the amount of cars that we have in there right now. So it's going to be a money generator. And, we got to pay back the costs of, putting it all together and everything, but it is operational now, and it is working. So we've got that going for us. And lastly, you'll notice that this is not Scott McBride.
What?
Gina is out of the bullpen tonight, stepping in for Scott. Scott is having a birthday today, so he's gone. He's out of town today. But in any case, Gina stepped in tonight to fill in as a pinch hitter for city manager business. So with that, we'll just make sure that everybody doesn't freak out and start with this, well, what's Gina doing up there type stuff, So that's why. Okay, so anyway, any other final comments from any council? Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming by tonight, and thank you at home for watching us. Meeting is adjourned.